This is the fourth and final installment on the 2 Telecaster project. Here I'm starting to mock up the pickguard and the bridge. This is a compensated bridge. The old style was the 6 saddle type. We've got some new pickups that we're going to put in here. Again, everything's just sitting on the guitar, making sure that everything is going to fit, hopefully. So on this pickguard, you can see there is no adjustment screws for the neck pickup, which means I have to measure and then mount the pickup to the body and measure twice, cut once, that old adage. Make sure that we get a proper fit the first time. Some of these holes on the pickguard didn't quite line up with the body. This is a Guitar Fetish pickguard. It's very nice quality. However, my only complaint is that some of the holes don't quite align. Here I'm installing the Wilkinson compensated bridge. I'm just using the same mounting holes that were there before from the old style bridge, and it's mounting up pretty close. Looking really good. Moving on to the electronics, the pots provided are a little bit larger in diameter than the control plate. So I go to my trusty drill bit set, find the correct drill size, and I'm going to have to remount these holes. So I'm going really slow. I don't want to botch up the chrome on this. Even though it is a relic look, we want to have the hardware looking nice and clean. That ought to do it. Precision fit. Here's a shot of the wiring I did. I put in an orange drop capacitor. Now moving on to these vintage style tuners. These are Geiger locking tuners. 10 millimeters so the holes align. So although these tuners fit in the holes, the spacing on the back plate of the tuner is a little bit larger than the spacing for the machine heads. That's no good. I'm going to have to get creative here, figure out a way to make these work. I believe I'm going to have to get out the file, shave a little bit off. Now for the moment of truth. Success. I didn't like that I could see a little bit of the old mounting hole. So we're going to take a little bit of wood glue and some sawdust and create our own wood filler. Just mix it up to a nice consistency where it's thick enough, and then you can just force it into the holes. Yeah, I know this isn't really pretty to watch, but it's necessary, and we'll get it cleaned up afterwards. Gonna go over the back of the headstock with some 2000 grit wet sanding. This is gonna knock off any of the excess glue, residue, sawdust mix that we have on the back of the headstock. And then we're gonna polish it afterwards. A little goes a long way here. This will actually cut and remove some of the fine scratches, and afterwards you buff it and polish it out to a nice sheen. Martin Sheen, not Charlie. I see a small imperfection there, so we're going to put a little bit more cut compound on here and go over it again. There, that's better. Now to install the locking tuners. Again, here I'm using my pocket rule to make sure that the alignment is great. This can be nerve-wracking here. We've come so far on the guitar, I have to drill into the back of the headstock, and I want to make sure that I don't go through. Hate to mess this up at this point. Looking good. Here's a tip for anybody who has to deal with small screws and middle of the winter like it is here. Everything's so dry it's hard to pick up. Use a magnet to your advantage. Perfect. Nice and straight, looking good. I really like this vintage style locking tuner. Now I've got to tighten up the 10mm. Sped it up here a little bit. I wasn't really going this fast. Okay, we're back at normal speed here. I'm just tightening these up a little bit. Want to make sure they're tight, but at this point we don't want to over tighten anything and crack that headstock. That would be a catastrophe. Pretty sweet. Now moving on here, I'm actually just showing the last string, but I'm filing down the nut slot. This is that new tusk nut. It was a little bit high, so we have to get the string down, otherwise we'll be sharp at the first fret. And now here's a picture of the finished products. I think they look great. Man, I'm really pleased with how these turned out. To date, this has got to be my finest effort. I sure hope that my friend who owns these guitars likes them as much as I do. So once again, to recap, here's a before and after. A lot of work happened on these two, and I think they look great. This is what we were going for, a look something like this from a Fender Custom Shop catalog, and I think we did a nice job here. I really like those clay dots. Would definitely do that again. It's so sublime. Very nice. Thanks for tuning in and checking out my progress on this project. This is the fourth and final installment. I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.